Welcome to our Trump Briefing Show. Today, we dive into the political arena where Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is pitching his party as the best choice to stand up against U.S. President Donald Trump. With looming tariffs on the horizon, Poilievre is emphasizing his party's commitment to protecting Canadian interests, all while facing scrutiny over his campaign's direction and polling numbers. Meanwhile, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is busy campaigning in British Columbia, while the Liberals led by Mark Carney are keeping a close watch on the evolving political landscape. In a bold move, Poilievre has proposed a tax deferral on capital gains to stimulate domestic investment, which he claims will help shield the Canadian economy from U.S. tariffs. The plan aims to allow Canadians to reinvest their earnings without immediate tax burdens, potentially costing the government around $5 billion in its first year. This initiative comes amid internal party challenges and a need for Poilievre to regain traction in the polls, highlighting the Conservatives' resolve in the face of Trump's influence. On the international front, President Trump expressed his frustration with Russian President Putin over the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, threatening military action against Iran if they don't reach a nuclear deal. This fiery rhetoric underscores the complexities of global politics as tensions rise. As always, we'll keep you updated on these developments and more. Please stay tuned for detailed coverage. The Toronto Star reports that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is positioning his party as the best defense against U.S. President Donald Trump during the ongoing federal election campaign. As the second week unfolds, Poilievre remains undeterred by internal concerns regarding his campaign's direction and polling, which shows him lagging behind Mark Carney's Liberals. He recently visited a plastics factory in North York, Ontario, where he proposed a capital gains tax deferral for Canadians who reinvest their earnings domestically, claiming this would inject billions into the economy and strengthen Canada's position against U.S. tariffs. In a bold move, Poilievre described the proposed tax measure as rocket fuel for the Canadian economy, emphasizing its potential to stimulate domestic investment. He explained that this tax deferral would allow companies to cash in on foreign investments without immediate tax penalties, thus encouraging the repatriation of capital. The Conservative Party estimates this initiative could cost $5 billion in its first year, but Poilievre insists it will ultimately benefit Canada by creating a more competitive economic environment. Despite facing pressure from party insiders to shift focus towards the U.S. threat, he remains committed to his strategy of economic growth through tax reform. Meanwhile, The Independent highlights President Trump's escalating frustration with Russia over the stalled peace talks regarding Ukraine. After weeks of criticism for appearing to side with Vladimir Putin, Trump expressed his anger towards the Russian president's recent comments undermining Ukraine's government. He threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russian oil exports if progress in negotiations is not made, framing the situation as a direct consequence of Russia's actions. As Trump navigates the complexities of international diplomacy, his administration's approach to Ukraine remains tenuous, with peace agreements still far from realization despite ongoing discussions. Al Jazeera reports that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is poised to visit Hungary this week, despite facing an International Criminal Court (ICC) arrest warrant for alleged war crimes in Gaza. This visit, which is set to last from Wednesday to Sunday, comes at the invitation of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who has previously dismissed the warrant. Netanyahu aims to garner support for former President Trump's controversial plan to ethnically cleanse Gaza, a strategy that has drawn significant international criticism. While Hungary is an EU member and should theoretically comply with ICC rulings, no official stance has been taken regarding Netanyahu's visit, signaling a potential rift in adherence to international law. The Toronto Star details a recent Russian drone attack on Kharkiv, Ukraine, which resulted in the deaths of 2 individuals and left dozens injured. The assault targeted a military hospital, shopping center, and residential blocks, highlighting the ongoing brutality of the conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attacks, asserting that Russia is prolonging the war and using ceasefire negotiations as a tactic for territorial gain. In a separate development, U.S. President Donald Trump expressed his frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin's remarks about Ukraine's leadership, indicating a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy if the conflict does not resolve favorably for Ukraine. Deutsche Welle explores the dire economic situation in Iran, where the middle class, especially women, is bearing the brunt of a crumbling economy exacerbated by mismanagement, corruption, and international sanctions. The Iranian rial has lost over half its value in just a year, leading to soaring inflation and increased costs of living. Economic expert Mohammad Reza Farzaneghan highlights that the shrinking middle class not only undermines political engagement but also increases reliance on state-affiliated institutions, which have managed to thrive despite sanctions. Women are particularly affected, facing higher unemployment rates and systemic discrimination in the labor market. As the Iranian government struggles to cope with economic pressures, the situation is expected to worsen, with potential for increased social unrest among a populace already dissatisfied with the political regime. Nikkei Asia reports that President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to Iran, threatening bombings and secondary tariffs if the nation fails to negotiate a new nuclear deal with the U.S. During a phone interview with NBC News, Trump emphasized that discussions were ongoing but did not provide specifics. He recalled his previous withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear agreement, which had imposed strict limits on Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief, and noted that Iran has since expanded its uranium enrichment beyond agreed limits. Despite Trump's ultimatum, Iran has rejected direct talks, with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirming that Tehran communicated its stance through Oman. Al Jazeera highlights Iran's firm position against direct negotiations with the Trump administration regarding its nuclear program, while expressing openness to indirect discussions. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian stated that Iran would not engage in direct talks unless the U.S. first rectifies its past actions and rebuilds trust. As tensions escalate, Trump reiterated his threats of military action and tariffs, while Iran's leadership maintains that their nuclear ambitions are solely for civilian energy purposes. Observers note that Iran's economy, heavily impacted by U.S. sanctions, may only see relief through successful negotiations with Washington. The Independent discusses a proposed trade plan that could potentially unlock £250 billion in economic growth for the UK, even in the face of expected tariffs from the Trump administration. The International Chambers of Commerce, ICC, advocates for the digitization of trade processes, arguing that modernizing outdated paper-based systems could lead to significant efficiency savings and reduced transaction costs. With the looming threat of U.S. tariffs, the ICC emphasizes the need for a digital economy agreement that would better suit the UK's service-oriented economy. Chris Southworth, Secretary-General of ICC United Kingdom, stresses that the UK has a unique opportunity to lead in digital trade, but expresses concern over the government's lack of focus on trade in recent statements. The Toronto Star reports that U.S. immigration officials are seeking public feedback on a controversial proposal to collect social media handles from individuals applying for immigration benefits, including green cards and citizenship, as part of compliance with President Trump's executive order aimed at enhancing national security. This initiative has raised significant concerns among immigration and free speech advocates, as it expands the government's surveillance reach to individuals already legally residing in the U.S., such as asylum seekers. The Department of Homeland Security aims to establish uniform vetting standards, requiring applicants to disclose their social media accounts, a practice that has been in place since the Obama administration but is now being broadened. Critics argue that this could lead to invasive scrutiny of individuals who have already passed extensive vetting processes, with potential implications for their First Amendment rights. The proposal, which could affect around 3.6 million people, has sparked debate over the reliability of social media as a tool for making high-stakes decisions, given its inherent complexities and the limitations of artificial intelligence in accurately interpreting such data. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spin, walls come down, voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd, broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen, every link a different theme, words collide in the stream, 6 degrees connect the dots, cultures clash across the globe, spin the threads in a strobe. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalists dig real deep, secrets out, they don't sleep. Every angle they will keep, in the news we take a leap. New perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray,